Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. And as always, welcome back to our Adventure Academia House Specials series. We are going to be discussing this time reflections on our third episode, as well as what's coming up in our fourth episode of this one. The kids have been enjoying it and have been having a lot of fun with the different things that have been going on. And this last time, hoo boy, it was a bit more challenging than the last. So let's go ahead and get into reflection. Let's go ahead and do announcements before we get into reflections. So, announcements. I just finished filming like a few minutes ago the one-shot giveaway game for the 1,000 subscribers. They decided to do a hunt by the new moon, and they were hunting down a mystical beast known as the Beast of the New Moon. So that is what they have done, and they, spoilers, they were successful, but the degree of success and things that happened, that is something you'll have to watch to find out. And I don't mind saying that because it's not a spoiler. I expected them to be successful, but that's beside the point. It was still fun, it was still interesting and challenging, and they seemed to have a good time, which is important. Now, coming to this, we have our reflections for the episode 3. And I do want to try and keep us pretty close on time. I know I went through the announcements real quick, but that's because there's not a whole lot that I'm announcing right this minute. So we'll go ahead and get into this reflection because I'm trying to make myself keep these concise. So as far as episode 3, The Golden Cairn, went, the world building seemed to go well. I'm a little pressed sometimes. I tried trying to keep these from a certain player's perspective, a certain character's perspective. Like this one's Hildegard, and the next one's Devereaux. But all in all, it seems to give a good way to go. We'll see how Devereaux's is read by the kids, and see if it's something that I'll keep up as stringently as I have. But Hildegard's perspective here worked well. The kids were able to get to the cairn like they were supposed to. They read through that, and that's something I encourage everybody to do. Let either your players, or in this case, the students, read. The Golden Cairn itself built out the world quite a bit more than I don't always know what's going to happen in the world building until I start it, and this was one of those things like that. So this one was set up well. The kids got to have some of that world building, and then the encounter builds into that. If you look back at the past episode 2's reflection, you'll see that I decided to add in a poem here for the kind of the warning that's echoed to any that enter close to the Golden Cairn. And this is how I have set it up for them. The kids seem to like that. I did the reading of it just to give it kind of weight, rhythm, and flavor, because the kids, they don't always read as smoothly as someone who's more practiced at it, which is understandable. But both the younger and the older kids read. Both of them got some good stuff going on with their reading. But as far as the combat reflection, I had some stuff going on with that. So they're level 2, and the characters are level 2. And I had some monsters here that were like, they were hero level monsters, because each of them was a hero that had come to the Golden Cairn to either get wealth, fame, fortune, or fulfill a prophecy or stuff like that. And they all had fallen. So they are strong, and they are actively a problem for the players, because as they were fighting, I noticed that, oh boy, this horde of zombies that I'm throwing at them, and I kept it kind of moderate onto how many they had to fight at a time. They were definitely feeling that pressure. So it turned out to where they had some coming out from the inside because they got there at twilight. They came at twilight. They got to the cairn at twilight, which was dark enough for these skeletal warriors to start coming out and start rising up from the ground behind them of the cairn. And I described how they were all different types of the races of Atar. They're all different types of ancestries and races of Atar. It was tough for them because there was this Minotaur one, there was this other one, and they were having to fight them. The magics for funneling them and keeping them at bay was useful, but the actual fighting itself was tough. That magic allowed it to limit them. Maximilian's flame wall was very useful, and the group that was fighting the outside stuff, there were like 3 or 4 outside that had risen up that they were fighting, one of which was a Minotaur skeleton that had a bit better melee attacks, and it was, oh boy, tough. It didn't help that in the second session with the younger kids, that the younger kids rolled much better for the bad guys than they did for the good guys. Because when I play this, the players all roll for everything, because it's a game about learning the math, reasoning out the math. So that worked out for them. They survived, but Wilhelm was pretty low. Hildegard would have to definitely try and do some healing before she was able to take care of anything really else, whether making light or doing any kind of banes. The kids didn't immediately start healing with her, and I think that's because they're so used to not having to. They're so used to not having to worry about everybody's hit points, but Hildegard is there for a reason, and it's these type of situations where people need healing maintained. They need their hit points maintained, and that's why I gave her to the party, as part of the party, someone with healing to be able to do that. And so I think I'm working out the amount of enemies to throw at them versus the amount of healing they can do, because it was very tight. If they did not heal Wilhelm up, then they would have lost Wilhelm's ability to defend the back line or the front line, whichever one he was on at the time. So that's a lesson for all you watchers out there. Make sure to keep kind of tabs, if you're the healer, on who all is most hurt. And someone who is playing the healer could probably meta do that, because it's like they are there looking at everybody, making sure that they're up and still doing good. But they survived, and they were able to move through. I don't really think I would make it canon if one of them died, because there's still a story being told, but I do think that it would affect the way I wrote the story if one of them did. But we'll have to see. Maybe one of them will die at Grum. I don't know. We'll have to see. Let's go ahead and move into the flavor text for the crypts and things. And because we are going to be going in further with the combat to get more practice with the arithmetic, I have kind of shortened up the amount of reading that needs done. So episode 4 is of Crypts and Curses, and it is going to be basically them getting down to the queen's, the dark and fair queen's lair, and doing what they need to there. Now this will also expose them to something new, which is important: lair actions or boss edges, however you want to say that in open legend terms. There's going to be the boss is going to have two. I'm going to have it have another initiative that I keep track of, that I'm going to surprise them with, because I don't think they watch these beforehand. But I'm going to surprise them with an initiative in the middle there. and they will be kind of, oh, this boss is doing two things. This is tough. But she is going to be down there, and they're going to be fighting her. First, let's deal with the flavor text for each. I shortened up the flavor text on each of them to allow a bit more time for that arithmetic. So let me see. I'm trying to be quick. Episode 4 of Crypts and Curses. Within the starless corridors of the Golden Cairn, Devereaux and his constellation of friends battled the skeletal warriors of the Queen beneath. Up and down the stairways the conflict raged. Though the magics of Maximilian and the blade of Wilhelm were able to destroy many undead, Devereaux could tell that the creatures seemed to be most affected by the light that shone each time Hildegard used her powers. Not until the day star's light touched the stones of the castle did the horde relent, allowing the group to take some rest. Due to the ghoulish circumstances, they chose to recover beneath the broken stained glass window of the castle's attached temple. Devereaux could see the creatures still lurking in the shadows, waiting for the night and its veiling twilight to return. So trying had been the battle of the night that, though the daylight was bright, the group all slept soundly. They moved only to follow the light as it moved across the room. It was during the last of these moves that Devereaux saw something in the sky that kept him from resuming his reprieve. Beyond the azure dome of day, he saw the faint lights in the heavens that every star child could see, regardless of the time. 4 bright stars shone in the chamber of destiny. They moved, down to the bottom of the constellation. Another star burned there, one that held his attention. His mind's eye saw it there, the dragon's bane. She guarded it, the grieving queen, and her vow hold it there. He had to go there. He had to lift the queen's curse, he who the bull star represents. So there we have our flavor text of Crypts and Curses. And this is to build out some world stuff for Devereaux. It also is kind of differently worded to allude to the different way that Devereaux sees the world, the odd or different way that star children see the world. It also does some world building with the idea of how the star children see stars all the time. They can see past the azure blue of the sky's atmosphere and actually see the stars while they're there. So we've got that, and we've got a bit of a build out for the queen. She is not just a queen dark and fair, she's called the grieving queen. He gleans that from his vision. And we'll see over here in the encounter portion a little bit of why. And I wanted to put a little bit of why because she's a tragic character in her particular position. So hopefully that will be conveyed and the kids will get some interesting stuff from that. But that is the flavor text of Crypts and Curses. Now for the encounter flavor text. It was no easy venture getting down to the grieving queen's crypt. Not only did they have to deal with the dusk to dawn attacks of the skeletons, but they also had to explore the castle to find Her Majesty's final resting place. Even Wilhelm, with his usually inexhaustible endurance, was starting to show the strain. After much exploration and piecing together of information, Maximilian was able to discover that the queen was entombed in a deep chamber below the castle. In her subterranean sepulchre lay the dragon's bane, a huge sword she had forged especially to slay Grum after he murdered her husband while stealing an artifact from the castle. In her grief she had made an oath that none may find rest in her lands until one worthy to wield the blade was found. She didn't know that her oath turned to a curse until it was too late. she shut herself up to act as the final test for any seeking the blade, thus ensuring that any that took it up would indeed be strong enough to wield it. Once the piecing together of the clues was finished, the group was able to find their way down to the Queen's chamber. They had to fight the whole way, since it was all in the dark, where the necromantic curse held sway. But their resolve never wavered. Even Devereaux, who hated being out of sight of the sky, was undeterred. When they came to the cavern containing the mausoleum beneath the castle, the skeletal warriors fell back. Entering it, they heard a feminine voice welcome them in. The ghostly form of the queen appeared seated on a stone throne outside her gravehouse, awaiting their challenge. The time had come. Now Wilhelm and his friends must prove their worth, or die trying. There we have it. The encounter flavor text. So we're going to be hopefully facing a single enemy. She can summon some more skeletons if I feel like she needs them. But all in all, she should be able to handle herself a bit well and be able to do plenty of stuff if I give her that boss edge that I was talking about earlier. And we shall see how they handle it. I think that the kids are going to be enjoying the battle itself, because they're fighting a ghost, and it's, let me see, this is happening in October, so it's kind of thematic. But also, this builds out some of the lore in the world. So if that's what you, as far as encounter texts and their flavor, there you go. But if you want some more information, like a little bit of lore blurb before we sign off, you can stick around. So the queen, in my head, I have her envisioned as a queen whose, like I said, whose husband was murdered by Grum when he stole an artifact from the castle. Now, the party will encounter that artifact later, but it is not something they may lay hold on and take and keep. But it is something that can be returned here later if they choose to, which might have some benefits. The other thing I have for her was that I didn't want her to be like outright evil. I wanted it to be where her oath was turned to, she in haste made an oath that then cursed her lands, the remainder of her lands. And I envision her as having kind of being a queen with those magical, maybe prophetic powers, and those were, in her haste, that's what turned her oath to a curse. And that may be how it is. I haven't fleshed that out fully, but I probably won't need to for the kids. But that's how I'm thinking of it right now, and how I'd like to build it up. For the other things, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to handle her. I don't think they'll have too much trouble with it, but it should be fun to see them try, because she's ghostly, so it'll be interesting for them to try and catch her while she's materialized and stuff. We'll have to see how it goes. But I'm enjoying it. I think this is going to be good for the kids to have a different challenge, as well as be able to start understanding boss edges. A boss edge is going to be something that is harder for the group to deal with than just a regular enemy. And Grum is going to have some of those, so it's important to expose the kids to it before they have to start dealing with it. So that's what I've got. I think that's everything. So, and that's my little blurbs at the end for some lore and some thoughts. So as far as final stuff, I'm going to finish faster than last time. There we go. As far as final thoughts, nothing new to bring up. So go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, as well as if you want to support this production of the Adventure Academia or other things that we do, you can do that through Patreon, Subscribestar, or Locals. And you can also contact me directly if you would like to do it that way instead. That's everything. As always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
This content was made possible by travelers and viewers like you. Thank you.
Four bright fix. I'm gonna fix something real quick. It's that. Then come down here and mess around with this. Okay, pick and pick. Cough, cough. Cat running around in here. No, I'm gonna fix that some more, regardless of the time. There we go. That's better. I have to change that to past tense. I gotta change that all to past tense. Need to keep the grieving queen and her vow held. The grieving queen and her guard. It was easier. It was easy. It was no easy venture. Even Wilhelm with his start that whole deal over. She did not know that her oath turned a curse. Once the piercing... Be good if I turned off my alarms. Prove their worth or die trying. I'm gonna have to rewrite that. When they came to the the cavern,